Thank y'all for coming to class. I guess I'll just, our goal for this time is really for us just to talk about what was presented this morning and really answer a couple of questions. So these were the 5 things that Mike talked about in kind of our plans for 24. I think all of these items were already in the budget, so we've got money set aside to do all those things. And but the shed is one that we're going to raise some money for, and then go forward with that. When we get ready to do that, we'll present that information to you guys. We don't know right now how much it's going to cost. I think they originally budgeted somewhere around, I'm afraid to guess, I thought it was around $60K for that too. It may be more or less, I don't know, but.
It was 60.
Was it 60? So and that was with a 4-bay building, right? And we didn't really have any living space in it though. We just had, it was mainly for.
It was a carport and the storage, you know, we got those off-site storages for the furniture.
Yeah.
And then for the lawnmower equipment and all that stuff.
Yeah. We definitely need to get that, because right now that's being stored at Gerald's house, and he shouldn't have to store that church equipment at his house. So, all right. So, any questions about any of these things? Anything you want to talk about? Anything that you think? Anything we should have added to that? Yes, one of you.
The congregational retreat, where is that going to take place?
That's a great question. As soon as y'all figure it out, we'll go. I'll go. We did that a long time ago. I don't know if y'all, Ray, some
Where
of
was
us.
it then?
Yeah, it's been
Well, I think we went to Fall Creek Falls, and the whole church went on it, and the men stayed on one side of the facility, and the ladies on the other. And we had a guest speaker come in and talk to us, and we played together. We had a good time doing that. It was really good. I remember that.
Okay. And then the missionary visits.
Mhm.
Is someone already committed to either the Caribbean or Peru?
I don't think we've got any. I think we've had people express a desire to go to Ghana, and I don't know about the Caribbean or Peru, but yeah, I mean, I think right now, if somebody can work it in their schedule to go, we can't send the whole church, but
Excuse me, is there a time of year that works better for Peru?
we'll have to. I don't know. I'm sure there is.
Well, it's winter there when we're summer,
Yeah.
and summer there when we're winter.
And they have Harding students there in the summer, our summer. So that might not be a great time to go. So
Or fall?
Peru, they're taking 3 months off.
Right now.
At some point, yeah,
they're off right now.
Okay.
They're in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So, but it's kind of a sabbatical. One of the things about the Daggets is their halftime, or more than halftime working is for Harding University. So a lot of their pay comes from them, and then the rest of it we split with Central. So it's a joint support for them. Same way with Nathan and Jenny Bills in Ghana. Central supports half of their costs or expenses too, I think. So we share and work together with them on those 2 missionaries. What else you got?
I had some questions about the shed, and I talked with Mike after service, and I guess they were, we had a discussion.
Well, share. What was it?
Well,
What'd you learn?
I was asking about the location,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was more concerned about the housing aspect of liability and how long people stay there, and you know, a lot of logistics, it seems, in making that work. And that's primarily what I was asking about.
Does it seem hot in here to y'all?
Yes.
I don't know why, it's just taking off heating and all of a sudden in here. I'm gonna turn it off, so I hope to turn it off. I think I know what I'm doing.
It says it's 69.
Yeah, but it's, the thermostat was set for 70 and it's running, so I don't know. I cut it off, I think. We'll see. Hope it's cool off here in a minute. Otherwise, I'm coming out of this jacket. What other questions? Yes, Paul?
On the social outreach side, last year we had a goal to grow our congregation by, was it 30 families or 30 people?
I think that was, yeah, we did have that goal.
Okay, did we reach that goal?
New members, I mean, how would you measure that? New members, or was it number of baptisms?
I guess maybe it would, yeah, I guess I was thinking new members, or new attendees at least.
I don't know for sure if we reached that number or not. We have several new members, and I showed a big,
Sure. Yeah.
slide with those on there. You can count them up if you want to. You'd also have to probably look at the number of people that are coming that don't ever declare their membership. They're here regularly and worship with us, and they're active doing things. So it's a really tough thing to do to measure that. I think we did well. I wish there were more people here, but I mean, we always want more people to come to church.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I don't know. I wish Steve was here so he can answer that, because I think he wanted the number 30 put in there, so,
Okay.
yeah. I don't like necessarily
Do we
looking
track
at
losses,
numbers.
do we track losses as well?
We don't.
We need to.
I didn't hear
I
that.
track them. I track them, I give them to Daryl,
What was our delta last year? You know, what,
what we ended up with on our technical, on our books was 446.
what was
When
it?
people leave or if they pass away or whatever. If I know about them. Like I said, I don't know about a lot of them. If I know about them.
What is the 446 number?
Current
Membership?
membership. Yeah.
Well, I have a lot of people telling me that nobody checked on them and nobody knows they're gone.
Did they tell somebody they were leaving?
I don't know, I guess they know it should be noticed.
Well, that's true. I mean, I guess I could take roll. Y'all want to punch a time clock when you come in? Because I mean, then I would know.
No, Gerald, it's just noticing.
Well, I mean, okay.
It's noticing. And we have our little areas where we sit, and so it's on all of us
Sure.
to notice
Mm. It
who's
is.
not.
Well, we have a young man that I talked to. And I told him I missed him one time. And he said, "You're the first person that's ever said that to me."
Mm.
And he also does not get talked to when he's here, because I watch.
Well, did you talk to him?
I talk to him every time.
Then somebody did talk to him.
He's very special to me.
Okay, good. I mean,
He's
I
important.
think when I hear stuff like that, I think, well, who is that supposed to do that communication? And it's all of us. It's not a specific group of people. When y'all make comments like that, I really automatically think y'all are talking about the eldership.
No, I'm talking about everybody.
And so I hear that and I think, well, that's where I do know that happens a lot. There's an expectation on the eldership to be doing all the communication. If you don't get checked on, it's the elder's fault. So what we have to do is create an environment at church where we're checking on each other. We're one group of folks. And it's everybody's responsibility to notice when people aren't here. I mean, you make relationships with each other. That's what we do. And when somebody doesn't show up, you check on them. That's everybody's responsibility.
Well, I didn't mean to sound like I do it all right and everybody else does it all wrong.
All right, good.
Because I miss people, talking to people too.
Yeah, we all.
But we do cliquish things.
Mhm.
We talk to those we're friends with and those we're close to. And those we know. And then there's other people walking past us that nobody pays any attention to.
Yeah.
And I've got a big mouth, so I'm gonna shut up.
No, that's fine. Sylvia, I just think it's something we all have to work on. It's real easy to get comfortable talking to your group of folks. Let me tell you a story, okay? When Kathy and I went to Huntsville, and spent a year and a half down there, we visited several churches, okay? And we were active. We were very active in the work here, and we went to Huntsville, and one of the hardest things in the world to do was to find a church where you felt comfortable and welcome. And one experience we had, and it kind of raised my awareness to what a problem this is, was we went to a church, and Caitlin was young, and so we took her to VBS, and Kathy and I were there because we did VBS when we were here, and we walked all over that building. I mean, we watched what was going on, and not one person spoke to us going down the hall. I mean, I would even try to say hi to people, and somebody might acknowledge that I said hi, but that was it. Well, we just took that as an anomaly, but we went back, and then we went to Sunday service, and we were there, and of course we kind of sat closer to the back. And when church was over, you know, they welcomed everybody there. Church was over, and Kathy and I and Caitlin and Clay were there. They all went to their groups, and they were exchanging pleasantries with each other, checking on each other, and doing that thing. But when they were doing that, nobody was talking to us. And we weren't trying to be introverted. We were actually trying to make relationships, but there was just no place for us. Now that's a nightmare, and didn't blame the eldership for that. I mean, that's just the way the characteristics of that church was at that time. Doesn't mean it's that way all the time, but it was what I experienced. I know what you're talking about. I lived it, and it's easy to do. It's easy for people to come in, take a seat in the assembly, and then nobody ever checks on them. Nobody ever reaches out to them. We all have to work on that. So, anyway.
Would there be any value as we are aware of newcomers or people that have visited, or that we, and some of us have taken note to talk to them, to have a central contact that we could give that name to, so there could be a more concerted effort in staying in contact with those individuals. Almost like a family outreach.
Sure.
Process, under social outreach.
Would the small groups help with that in any way?
I don't know, I know that, I know Gary Johnson, you know, when he was here, that was one of his big things was making a concerted effort to reach out and I just wonder if awareness, right, could be achieved, because I agree with you that we're it's a big building, and we would, you know, we kind of talk to people maybe in our specific region of the building,
Mm-hmm.
but then there are others that may get left out. But if we are aware, if we had a process by which we could at least get those names out there, so that way there could be some effort made to reach out to them, and that word get, you know, either through small group or some other means. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think communicating, you know, people that need to be checked on is definitely something that we could
Are
do that.
you aware that there is a women's ministry? The visitor cards
Y'all
are
respond to
collected every week,
But they don't sign them much anymore.
and and personal notes, letters are sent, that's, to them.
I tell you what,
There's a little
Yeah.
bit there, a beginning, but some of you may know other avenues.
I tell you, you know, personalities come into play. When somebody says something like Sylvia said, my initial reaction is to get a little defensive, and so I apologize for that. But
I'll forgive you maybe.
so it's all in love. I mean, but we beat ourselves up for this over and over again. And this relationship thing is at least a two-person deal. The person that comes in, if they sit in the back, and as soon as it's over, they leave the building without talking to anybody, there's just not much you can do about that, right? Now, if somebody is coming in this class, I know every one of you in here, and if they're working in some outreach effort, if they're working in, if they're participating in the things that are going on here, this is a very welcoming church. And we continue to hear this rumbling that we're not talking to people, and I don't see it as bad. I mean, it's something we have to keep working on, and we miss people sometimes on any individual Sunday. We do miss them, but I just don't think it's rampant. That'd be my opinion. It's worth not much. Listen.
I'm not talking about visitors here, but I'm talking about members.
Yeah.
There's things that are wrong in the directory and stuff because there are members that won't contact the office, like if they move or if they have a baby or if, that I won't necessarily know about because I don't know everybody on the same level that I know some other people. And I don't know. So I think everybody in here knows that I don't publish things in the bulletin unless I have permission from that family to publish it because some people don't want their business out there. But people just, for whatever reason, they just don't call the office. Like if I know several families that have lived somewhere temporarily while they were building a house or something, and they moved in that house, I still have their old address because they haven't updated me. So it'd just be nice if their contact information changes for whatever reason,
Right. Make that aware.
So it's not just visitor stuff, it's members, and they get busy, they forget. I know they're not doing that kind of stuff intentionally.
Right.
And I can always have stuff unlisted for them if they don't want certain
Yeah,
things
there's a link
published.
on there that says not in directory.
Yeah,
Show it.
yeah.
Let me tell you another story related to this topic because initially the initial comment was negative, right? So I'm going to give you a positive one. We do have, huh?
Do you mean me?
Yeah, that was a negative comment.
No, it was a helpful comment. Make you aware of comment.
I'm aware it was still negative. All right.
Just because it's negative though, doesn't mean it's not true. It's an education.
It's an observation. I'm going to give you a different one. And I'm going to tell you this is a positive one.
Okay.
We have, several families that are not from our tradition that I know of that we talk to that are visiting here with us that find this to be a different place, a more welcoming environment. And they like it here. Even though they're used to musical instruments and praise bands and all these other things, they're here because they feel the Spirit of God here, okay? So let's focus on that. Let's focus on not counting numbers, not counting baptisms and all that stuff. Let's focus on the Spirit of God being in this place, loving each other, and working together to serve Him. Let's do that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I got two things. One of them on your positive. Neither one of them's negative, but on your positive. Working with the winter shelter over and over. Favorite place for them to be. Here, we're different. Heard it every time.
Awesome.
I'm just saying. They mean so much to me.
Yeah.
Same thing. And I've been thinking about this, and I may be putting what I'm willing to do, and my husband kill me, but anyway. Years ago, and I don't even know if that photograph place came, they come and they take pictures, and we had a book.
Olympians.
That's it. Do they? I don't even know if they exist. But, like I pulled my books out before, and I know we've got the little shots, and Melicia's done a great job. But is there a chance, and I'm willing to work it, because I'm not asking for, I'm willing to come and work, whatever. But is there a place where we could do that again, or does no longer exist?
We can.
I think we need to do a professional one again.
Well, I will also tell you that out of Servant Keeper, and I've sent it to the elders to look at, there is an app that can actually show you the data, show you the membership, their name, their phone number, email, whatever you have in Servant Keeper, that you can just pull it up on your phone and see everybody that's here. It's a tool that militia uses to maintain our membership. The data that, the pictures that I showed today and on the slideshow came out of Servant Keeper, and the baptisms was a list that came out of there, the new member list that came out of there, all that stuff's in that database, and Melissa does a great job of keeping track of it when she knows it. A lot of times she doesn't know, things change, so, but I use that lately. I've played around with Servant Keeper and figured out you could produce a directory out of there, and if you go to a website, click on the link, you can look at anybody here. So
I think there are a lot of people that still want that hard copy
I know.
that they can go to, put their hands on it, and put out in a drawer.
they can. All right,
Yeah.
I got you.
And there's a lot of older people, older than me, who don't know how to use all of that stuff. They don't even have some of them access to doing that, much less knowing how to use it.
Okay.
I mean, we don't have to write in, we don't have to go with someone like Olin Mills. We have plenty of people who take pictures, you know, that we could probably find someone who's not as expensive. And it was always good for families when we would have new directory time, because then you get your family pictures made, you know.
And I still pull one out all the time. I've got some from way back that I pull
And then
out.
for all of us that, you know,
Someone I can
try to
find.
have an app, we could keep up with people, and for everybody else, we could find like printing services that might be a little bit more economical.
I think it's good to have both, because you've got both in the congregation.
Well, and you have things change all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
This is not it's an organism. We grow and shrink, and people come and go, so.
But I also think, and I'm not saying this in any negative way all of us,
I'm gonna share my love with you.
as a community, when people are having a hard time, that's when they don't come. Preachers aren't gonna know, elders aren't gonna know, deacons aren't gonna know. If you notice people are gone, express it. You know, and sometimes when people are gone, they don't want to hear from their friends at the church, you know? And sometimes, you know, that's when they need us the most. That's all I'm saying.
So
So-
maybe does that mean try harder sometimes, or?
I'm saying if you see that there are people that aren't here and you miss them, and we might need to put, I hate to say this stuff like that, a committee over it, or a group of people over it, make it a ministry over it. But I mean, there needs to be, because there is a lot of grumbling, and I'm not being negative, but if there has to be someone that when we know there's a family or a person going through a hard time, a way we can get the right people to know about it, so there can be a ministry out to them. Because it isn't fair to say, oh, someone just quit coming. Yes, they didn't tell anybody, you know, but who can we tell, and what kind of things can we do to start firming ourselves up in that area?
Sure.
So it's not a problem
good.
going in the future.
You know, we've been talking a lot about connections over the last, several weeks. I mean, if you don't make connections when good times are there, I mean, it's really difficult when bad times come. So we have to work at making connections with each other. That's one of the reasons we want to do this, congregational retreat, women's retreat. I would love to do a men's retreat as well, so we can all start working on building those bonds so that when things aren't good, we know about it. I've experienced that myself, and I know that means a lot. That's what church is supposed to be. So, all right. Well,
Just to follow up on social outreach, I remember the presentation they talked about, there's some, a ministry for the older generation, where people are in need. What are some other outreach areas that we see in need right now?
the thing that Sheree was doing that we're missing, or we're gonna miss, it's gonna slowly kind of degrade over time, was just the connections we had with other groups. The Tullahoma City Schools counselor group, Sheree was talking to them and helping certain kids, and they were helping us identify the requirements or the needs, and then we would be able to respond to that. And the other community groups, you know, the winter shelter is a perfect example, because it's not just us doing that. I mean, we've got every other, you know, the group of churches that support that are gathering together to figure out how to help the poor, help those that are homeless, and that, I think that's a model for what we need to be doing. I mean, we're about spreading the word of God, about helping people, helping the poor, and I think that's, I don't know that I would identify anything in particular, except if somebody is not addressing that, participating in the meetings, going and tell them that Cedar Lane wants to be a part of stuff, then we're gonna miss that. So that position is in the budget to be refilled.
Hey, Joe,
Yeah.
to add on a little bit to that, I know working with the winter shelter, there are individuals that come that do not have a way to get an ID, or how to apply for different things, whether it's disability, how to do EBT cards, yada yada, that type of stuff. And that's where Cherie had a lot of, was a point of contact that they could come to her and she could help them fill out things, because it's all like
On the web.
it's all a website now.
Yeah.
And she would assist them in things of that nature. That's just a mere fraction of things that she would help do. And it was a point of contact, and they knew that they could trust her to help them do things and point them in the right directions. So that is a need in this community that for someone to do that.
I think in our imagination, or yes.
Some of the questions you're asking feed right into a comment that came from Rachel Collins online. She asked specifically, what forms of outreach are we considering for our school?
Let me come back to that one and let me finish this one, because I think we had in mind that eventually this position that we were paying, I don't remember, it seemed like it was $30,000 or something like that in the budget for it, would eventually become a position that churches around the county, around at least Tullahoma, would all kind of help kind of get behind and figure out how to support stuff like that together. I mean, there's no reason for every church to go out and hire somebody to help people fill out those forms. We've got a resource that can do that. They can do something else, you know, with their money instead of going out and hiring somebody to do that. I mean, I think the more collaboration that we can do with other churches that are trying to do this is really that was our long-term vision, I would say, is trying to figure out how to do it together. What was that question? About the schools?
What outreach are we considering to our schools?
So a lot of that depends on the energy and excitement, willing to get in there and start digging on this, is to kind of where that's going to go. All right. There are Charlotte and Tracy are very connected with Motlow, and so they've got ideas. They've got things they want to do there. I think when we looked at the budget as an eldership, we thought we wanted to spread that not just to Motlow. We wanted to go into the schools. I mean, we've got kids that are having trouble getting back and forth to school. They may not have food. They may not have clothes. Trying to get connections with the kids and put that money into the school system, into the hands of the kids, so we can help them. There is no grand plan for that yet. What we hope is that, and I hope it's not a plan. I shouldn't say it like that, but is that the energy within the teachers groups and people that want to get involved in the schools, that we will come up with how we're going to do that. We don't have a grand master plan on how that's going to happen. It's a great idea, but it won't happen unless somebody steps forward and takes ownership of it and kind of says, this is what we're going to do. And that's not been identified.
Mike mentioned that some of this came out of Team 2, the outreach, part of the outreach committee. Team 2 meets the second Tuesday of every month at 6:30 in the conference room. And as Mike mentioned, Mike and Mike Fitzgerald, David Mitchell are the 2 elders, but that's where a lot of these things will be discussed more. So,
I could almost see that one being a separate group that, I'm part of Team 2,
it will
but
be a break off, yes.
that somebody or a group of folks will take that, kind of like, you know, the kitchen. There was a group of folks that took that and just, they ran with it. What we really want is for a group of folks to get together and take off with a school thing. So, yes, sir.
A couple, 2 or 3 things. The way we do worship first and then Sunday school probably presents a little challenge with visitors. Our experience at Wilson Avenue, we got intentional that when we had visitors, again, smaller buildings, smaller numbers, so you were more easily able to identify visitors.
Yeah.
Again, I see a lot of y'all, I'm thinking visitor or member, you know, I don't know yet, I'm still learning. But we were real intentional, different ones of us, that we would say, after the worship, go out and meet with us. And because again, Jesus did a lot of ministry around town. And the way we do it, that may present a challenge, but I really think, one, because if they just come here, you just think about the way we do worship, it doesn't lend itself to engage or interact with anybody else, especially newcomers.
Right.
It just doesn't happen, and then we're just naturally prone, before and after, we're talking to the folks we know.
Yeah.
We're talking to the folks we hadn't seen all week. You know,
Are you
that's-
thinking we go to class first and then worship?
I'm not pushing that, I'm just saying that just presents a unique challenge for us, you know, per se. You know, and then secondly, you know, when people can walk away and one, they're not missed, or number 2, they can walk away because they're not missing anything. You know, that's both sides of that coin. And I think membership, we all have to be more intentional to build that bond, because it's not going to happen in a generic context. It's got to be on a personal level.
It is, very personal.
And, you know, and whether it's the life group or whatever, to really intentional say, hey, you know, I know you're struggling, I know you're hurting, or I know you don't feel real connected. Tonight we're doing this. Come on, you know, let's go eat somewhere at Arby's or wherever, and then let's just go to our group, or we'll go eat there afterwards. Something like that that's personal. You know, because, you know, 2 things. You got to have something that people want to be a part of, and then you got to have that one-on-one connection. And the only other thing I'd mention, I just had the thought is, we get, or I've heard a lot of positive feedback just being a newcomer here, that the way we do communion, those special times, that lends itself for some interaction time, and it's spontaneous, it's not structured.
Yeah.
And I think in our organizational, institutional context, that form limits functionality of what Jesus intended gathering to experience.
Yeah, I've caught myself in church and sometimes seeing somebody I hadn't seen in a while, or maybe it's 4 or 5 people I haven't seen in a while, and I'm sitting there thinking, after church, I need to hustle over there to get to see these 3 or 4 people, and I make it to one, okay? And then I almost seem rude because I'm thinking the whole time I'm talking to him, I got to get over there and talk to this other guy. Because I missed, you know, and that's not right either. I mean, I think Jesus took time with people, and, you know, if we're all checking on each other, it's not going to be a problem. If there's an expectation that only 5 elders are checking on people, that is a problem. That is a huge problem. And so, anyway, go ahead.
Was the shed in the budget, is the shed in the budget, or is that the special contribution?
That's the special one. It's the one that's not in there. So one of the things that we saved all that money on the vans. There was a van purchase in there, and some of that money will probably go to the shed. And we'll let all that work out over the next month or so, and then we'll figure out how much money we need for the shed. But I believe if the church is behind what we're doing with the shed, money will be there. So the kitchen, there were some things that happened on that kitchen above and beyond what we planned to do, because members decided that it was important to do them, right? So like the polishing the concrete was only supposed to stop at the door. Well, it went on out in the hall because the hall was a mess, and somebody saw that and said, how much would it cost to just do this too? And I believe they contributed some money to get that done. So anything like that, we have people that contribute to the church.
One thing I would like to see a little more of, and I think this goes back with your job too. At Wilson, I took ownership of our Facebook page, and I love Facebook. I think it's a good tool. And one thing is just to put more, have it available more where you can make a post about if you want to share with someone something. Now, we had our posts, but I had to approve them. I mean, we had 2 or 3 that could just post, but we had to approve them because, you don't want some stuff on there.
Sure.
But just to let it be known, if you had a good article, you read something, you wanted to share it, put the different groups on there, because I'm not a paper person. I don't like pulling up my email, looking at the bulletin again, and trying to search down that information.
Yeah.
But I think a really good Facebook presence to let people, and you can just, and if you have a visitor come in or someone, say, well, check out our Facebook page, and we'd like to direct you and get you information about what's going on.
I know Jerry's on that, wanting us to do something about that, and he's.
And the web, and our
And our website too,
page
yeah.
too, yeah, good.
And
Keep
So-
it updated.
we're working on fixing
I know,
all that.
it takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Woody.
Yeah.
When we first came here, there was the Gathers field and
Yep.
Fleming were running or paying a lot of attention to the children's home, collecting coins and so on.
Sure, yeah.
Has that been
It's still in the budget.
our effort?
It
I haven't
is.
seen that done lately, and I know that they had to give it up, I think probably because it was getting a whole lot of time or Phil was having a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Has anyone stepped up to?
I don't know about the children coins thing, but we have been giving money. The church gives money to
Okay, it's
children's
still in our
homes.
budget.
It's still in your budget, yeah. Well, y'all submitted it, Woody. I got it from you, I think, or Mike. I'm not sure who gave it to me, but it's still in there.
Okay, and that was one other thing that the disaster relief group, Downtown Churches of Christ disaster relief. Are we still supporting that in any way?
I don't know that I'd have to go back and look and see what's in there, but I think if there is, we've got some money in savings that's set up for disaster relief, and it's been in there for about 50 years, I
Well,
think.
they have a call list. We're on the call list when they need to call in volunteers to load those.
Well, when that happens, we need to take that money out of savings and give it to them. Because
Did we not use that in Louisiana though at all?
we did, and I think that's when it started. But how many years ago was that? That's
2005,
I think I was a young man then. So that's how long it was.
That's been a long time ago.
It was a real long time.
After Katrina.
It was Katrina.
I think it's 2005.
But I think we got money in savings. I don't remember how much it is. It's not a huge amount, but there's some money set aside there for that.
We don't send a monthly check to them though.
No, we don't.
No.
It's that wasn't in the budget, but I mean, I'll tell you what, I always like to give money. I want the church to be giving money to things that we're involved with, that we're doing, that we're hands dirty getting involved with, and not that we wouldn't get involved with disaster relief, we would, but just writing a check and sending it and forgetting about it is not, that's not my preference, but.
They still do that Five Loaves thing?
I'd have to ask, I don't know.
No.
Are we? We don't do it here.
They don't do, because there's the church down the street that does the Friday things.
Every Friday?
I think that's sort of.
They still do, Five Loaves still happens. I don't know if this church, this Rotary has a day that they do it.
Darren and Gene Gibson still do it.
Yeah, I don't know if we do it here.
But I don't know what
It's still
happened,
happening.
why it's not happening here.
Was it Jeannie Nichols involved in that?
Jeannie Nichols was doing that.
Yeah, she could probably answer.
She
but-
could answer
They
that
still
question.
pack, during the school year for that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
but we don't do the great big thing.
On that one, we were just a provider of the facility, and people in our church got involved with it naturally, so, but I don't think it was something we said, this is what we're gonna do, I think. Jeannie did it.
Are
She
you
did it.
talking about Second Harvest?
No.
That's what we did at
No.
church.
No.
Problems of Kids was done down.
Oh, you're right, I'm talking about Second
South
Harvest.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Susie. I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
straightening me out. One for Susie.
No,
I've got
behind
one.
us were still.
You're even.
We're even, I think we're even, 1-1. All right.
Gerald, I had a question on the missionary visits.
Uh-huh.
Who are the contact deacons for each area? Now, I have so lost track of that.
Well, and I think that's kind of, we've all kind of lost track of that as a church. I knew that Ryland was the contact at one time for Peru, and but I haven't really heard a lot about that lately. And Ghana has been Steve Bills. So, and he's not a deacon over that, but he has been our contact. So, I don't know if it's
Petty.
anybody.
John Petty is.
And John Petty in the Caribbean.
And Rob Nichols.
And I wondered if Rob was,
Yeah.
it's been Jimmy and Janelle.
Well, yeah.
Time in my mind.
I still, we still think of you doing that, Jimmy.
Well,
You and Jimmy.
I would like, in some of our, moments before church, to have a little bit more, from the different areas. We hear quite a bit about Ghana, a little bit more about Peru, but we don't see very much about the Caribbean anymore. And we've been there how many years?
About 30 now.
30, 40? 40 anyway. 50.
I really liked the Sunday that the Daggetts did communion with us.
I think that was beautiful.
More of that, I think would be
But
great.
Jimmy, yeah.
Gerald, I have a comment, and I don't, logistically, I don't know, of the three congregations that we support in the Caribbean, there's one that's probably technologically savvy enough to share with us real time
Yes, yeah, real nice.
a worship service, communion, whatever, and I would like for us to look into that. I think I mentioned that maybe a little bit in an email with Dunbar before, but, I had Face Devil pulled up before church started this morning, and yeah, it's the devil, Facebook is. In a way. Face Devil.
There's the angel and the
Face
devil,
devil.
there's both.
I don't know if the positive out was negative, but that's a whole nother level. But they broadcast their service. I don't think they have a whole bunch of followers, but that's
They
one
do?
way.
You
Yeah.
think they do it already?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep, they do, because I occasionally I'll watch that.
Okay, we need to get that information out.
I think we could, share with them sometime.
Hey, before we leave this, before we're done completely, let me ask y'all a question. Where do you see God leading us into our community?
What was that again? I'm sorry.
Where do you see God leading us into our community? Where do you see God leading us? Sharp.
Okay, so been involved with schools for a long time,
Mhm.
now, and I know for a fact that this church is mentioned in the community I was involved with, parents, because I would say something, if they needed something, oh, you mean the big church on Cedar Lane? I've gone there before, they're good. So that's where it made me feel good to be a part of that church, because that's the feeling those people already had, and that's where I see us being, to continue. We started it at the little church, and if we want to do big and little, that we already opened our doors and come, let's see what we can do.
Sure.
And I just think that we've got it, and that concerned me when we changed the name of our church, because I knew that Bel Air was already out there in the mouths of, go to them if you need.
Right.
But it hadn't changed, because it's still out there as the big church.
Yeah.
You know, but, that's where we need to be. We need to be where the community knows, and that means just getting involved in, and then when somebody says, where do you go? I said, the big church on Cedar Lane, that's my church. Come visit, I think that's what we need to do, and I think we do it. We just gotta keep it going.
Keep it going. Good. Gene Ellis.
Go ahead.
Outreach, yes. We're called to do it, we need to do it, nothing wrong there. But we need to do, I feel, a little bit, and I'm not saying the elders, I'm saying all of us, need to do a little bit better job of reaching out to some of our members who are marginalized either by age, illness, whatever. I think there are people here who hurt in silence. And that doesn't have anything to do with speaking to new people
Right.
in the congregation. It's just, it's not pleasant because it hurts to see them that way. And I think it's something that we have failed a lot of people in.
Okay.
Can I ask a question on that regard? Because I agree with you 100%, right? But one of the challenges and struggles and maybe false perceptions is when you're in that type of situation, you don't want to just open up your heart and everything just to anybody, right? And so I don't know, so I'm looking for some feedback for understanding. Who, when someone's in that kind of a situation and they really are looking for, they need someone to reach out as a body, I mean, who is best equipped or to be received by somebody in that situation?
I think it's very subjective. It's who they have had relationship with before. And also people, maybe even we could be schooled a little bit on tact and sensitivity and keeping our mouth shut.
Excuse me?
About certain situations. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about discretion. If we go into a situation where people are hurting, even if it's just physical health. I remember my mother she was not gonna discuss that stuff with anybody. So if we go into those situations, don't come and put it on the overhead Sunday morning. Yes, it needs to be prayed about, but it needs to be done with discretion and tact. And I don't think we're always really good at that.
Sometimes somebody.
Yes, Jen.
I was in agreement with Janelle here. We all need to take on the responsibility of when we see someone's missing that we normally talk to, we've got to open up. I call it inReach because it's within our community. And so I don't call it outreach, I call it inReach. So we're reaching within to make sure that we're all okay. And I'll be honest, there's things I would tell members that I'm friends with here, things that I would never discuss with you elders. That's just not happening. It's because of the relationship we have. And relationship matters. And that also means that we've got to be intentional, like Sylvia was saying, we've got to be intentional, and when we see those people, we need to tell them that we miss them, and we need and when we see somebody we don't know, and I am worse at this because it is so uncomfortable for me, but we've got to walk up and introduce ourselves to them and begin that relationship.
Yeah.
And I don't have an answer. We're fairly new here still, you know. But I hear a lot about community, and that's great. And I'm 100% supportive of that. But we don't need to negate the fact that there are people right here that need just as much attention and intention toward them.
Well, if you know, I don't know if you know this or not, there's several things in here that we've been talking about connections and and that's not necessarily outside. I mean, it is outside, but it's also inside.
Well, I think it comes down to everybody just looking inward within themselves to see how they can make a difference there too.
Yeah, invest in small groups. You know, that's one opportunity. And coming to class and getting to know each other. And just outside of work, outside of church. I'm thinking work again. Outside of church, spend some time. Ask somebody to go to lunch with you and figure out. Yes.
I'm gonna cut out 90% of our 1 second. The bell's about to ring again, but I think it goes back to what you said. When people are hurting, we've got to get them connected to the right people. That means we got to connect with them initially so we know who the right people are, because those people close to them are the right people to get it started. You may hand them off to somebody else, but you need that. So how do you get connected? Okay, maybe we can't ask them to lunch, but I've met some guys and got closer to them that I didn't have any kind of relationship with at the oil change.
Yeah.
This is how we make those connections. Hey, we're going into this school this weekend. I know you're new here, but why don't you come with us and see what we do, and let's see if we can get to know you. These other things that we have, that's our avenue to make those connections. And then, like you said, we make the connections in the good times.
Yeah.
We learn who they are, Celia. We find out we've got something to invite them to. So then when things go south for them, there's somebody there who at least knows who they are and maybe notices they aren't there. It's all tied in together. We need to inreach. How do we inreach and build those connections? By outreaching together as a community. So getting out in the community builds us internally and intentionally looking for people Sunday morning. And when we know something's going on in these few people that we know, we need to know who those contacts are that we can pass them on to get them the help that we're not really prepared or trained to give. So I hear the discussion and it's all linked, it's all tied together. And so I think we're going in a good direction. I think we got a good foundation for it.
Yeah.
Just maybe some of this we need to be a little more intentional about, and individually be more intentional about.
So we need to. It's time for class meeting.
We were talking about staffing needs.
Your daughter's laughing
Oh,
at
I'm
you back
sorry.
there. One more thing.
One more. Staffing needs. Would you consider a staff person with what Cherie was doing, blending with the family minister? And I think a family minister, and that was a lot of what I think Gary did, but he or she would be a contact for some of the things we're talking about. I don't know if the two positions could somehow be, but blended.
Oh, we'll think about it. Hey, what I would tell you from this conversation is that, y'all didn't spend a lot of time talking about numbers and budgets and all that, which I think tells a lot about who we are as a group. We're really concerned about helping each other, and that's what I'm taking out of this conversation. You want our church, you want all of us to be supporting one another, and that's been your conversation today. And when I opened the floor with nothing, but that's where you went. And I think that says a lot about who we are as a church, and I think that's what God wants us to be. So I'm walking away thinking, you guys are all right. Except for one, maybe. All right, y'all have a good one.